Welcome, friends. This is not a snow day. My every weekday podcast slash YouTube series about how to not treat this quarantine like a, well, I want to say freak accident, but that seems a little harsh. Like a one-time thing, and actually adjust, not to make a new normal, but to make things tolerable. Today is the 62nd day of quarantine here in southeastern Michigan. It is pouring rain and 55 degrees. Spring. Today is also George Lucas's birthday. If you're unfamiliar with George Lucas is the writer and director who brought the Star Wars franchise to exist. He created all of it. I'm wearing a Star Wars themed George Lucas t-shirt for my absolute favorite podcast, a thing called Binge Mode. It's for adults only. Kids, it is a fantastic, almost online class about fantasy properties. They have a Star Wars series, Game of Thrones. It's pretty awesome. Highly recommend for adults looking for a great podcast. And that kind of ties in a little bit with what I want to talk about today, because on George Lucas's birthday, we are here. And, you've seen the meme, like, I finished Netflix. What should I watch next? And I think there's something to be said for what I'm noticing happening right now, which is a lot of people are revisiting past favorites. There is a strong nostalgia factor that is really kind of captivating us right now. Everyone's favorite lovable office goof, Jim Halpert, is now doing a wildly successful YouTube show from his house. A little unoriginal there, Jim. John Krasinski's doing the Good News Network. Really, really cool. And people love seeing Jim again. And there was an Office Zoom reunion. And Community, the television show, is getting back together and doing table reads. And people are revisiting a lot of past favorite shows. And I, last night, tuned in to watch a Mr. Show, Bob Odenkirk and David Cross charity event. Post Malone recording Nirvana album that was very influential for him, revisiting that and people coming out for it. And I think there's some stuff tied up in there that I think is worth looking at. Nostalgia, the feeling of fondness for the past, not just harkens back for the property, it harkens back to who we were when we experienced that IP, that information. So when you reread a favorite book, you're not just revisiting the information, you're revisiting who you were when you first saw that information. When you watch that movie that was a comfort for you when you were little, you are kind of time machining back to being little. We know this, especially with music. This song makes me think of, I'll never forget where I was the first time I heard that song. And these are very, very powerful triggers for positive memories of the past. Why am I bringing this up? Well, because I think a lot of people wish we weren't right now the way we were right now, right? Like, this is not such a fun time. I don't know if I was Hermione Granger and I had a time just if I would. I brought props today. Yeah, like honestly, if I had a time turner, Harry Potter stuff, would I turn this to move forward, or would I go back and avoid this? Like, that's something I'm thinking about. I don't think anyone's ever like, early 2000s, let's go. And so we go to nostalgia to escape a little bit, to be transported back, to be transported away from where we are. And so I want to give you some permission to lean into nostalgia. For one, if you have other young people in your quarantine, to introduce them to the stuff that you liked, the stuff that scared you. Tell them your stories of your favorite movies. My daughters have loved laughing at my wife and I when we show them things that we thought were funny or scary when we were little, and the special effects, everything's so different, and yet they're pretty intrigued by it. Just yesterday, we revisited a franchise that was a really big deal for my girls when they were little, the Monster High IP, the children of famous monsters in mythology in a high school setting, animated series. And we watched the whole thing and it felt good because it felt like back before. It felt uncomplicated. And that's one of the things I love about Star Wars. is I get to be 4 and 5 and 7 and pretending my bicycle's a speeder bike and the streets of Detroit are actually indoor and those potholes are enemy mines. And so I've talked to a lot of parents and some teachers who are talking a little bit like, I'm worried the kids are regressing, right? They're exhibiting this behavior with their old toys or with their old stories. And I don't think that's regression. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a guy on the internet who's not as cool as Jim Halpert. But I do know that sometimes there's comfort in listening to our old favorite songs. I mean, you can't go anywhere on Facebook without seeing somebody's influential 10 albums. And I think that when we don't know what we're looking toward and we don't always like what we see right now, the only direction left to look is back. And it can be very comforting. It can be therapeutic. It can feel grounding to interact with things that have always been there that feel stable to you. And so let your kids have those. Even helping serve up some nostalgia with some old toys rediscovered, or do you remember when we used to, or oh my gosh, play some songs that they loved when they were little and have that kind of throwback dance party. Those are ways that we can use nostalgia, not as the marketing tool that makes us want to buy Stranger Things everything. Instead, it is an opportunity for us to cash in those chips of comfort and to take some solace in some things that are comforting when everything else feels really disquieting and uncomfortable. So today is nostalgia. Happy birthday, George Lucas. I want to never forgive you for Jar Jar Binks, except I can never thank you enough for all the other stuff. So happy birthday, George. Serve yourself up a scoop of nostalgia, everybody out there. Thanks so much for your comments. Subscribe down below. Comment if you'd like. Some of your favorite nostalgia things, songs and books and things that you revisit when you need to get your feet underneath you. I'll see you tomorrow. It's Friday. That's pretty exciting. And we'll talk a little bit about some fun activities you can organize for you and also some fellow family, friends, and others. So this is not a snow day, and it's a day. So if you don't want to look forward, look back and find something fun. Thanks so much.